So on that note, who is your first half unofficial MVP? It's not officially the first half just yet, but who's your MVP to date for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
How do you pick, man? You can go. I mean, I
Exactly.
really liked Johnny T at the beginning of the season. I thought him and Nylander were just killing it, and I was like, man, this is a guy who can like really blaze the trail and lead the way as a captain and a veteran to be stepping up and having a career year. Marner obviously went on his tear, and then the goaltenders are absolutely lights out this year, and that was a huge question mark going into it. So almost impossible to pick one. So I'm going to go off the grid, and I'm going to pick
Okay.
Mark Giordano. I think that he
Ooh.
is a glue guy in that dressing room. He doesn't get any credit. He doesn't do the flashy thing that's going to get, all the media attention like a Mitch Marner, but the way he holds that decor together, the way he has taken guys under his wing and made them better and, kept that core together despite having just a disastrous time with injuries. And I know he's the kind of guy who, if you play a good game, you're not going to notice him too much. And he does that every bloody game to a T. And I think he is a big time glue guy in that dressing room that no one really talks about.
I love the outside the box approach to it. I'm going to keep it simple. Mitch Marner. You look at the point streak, you look at the body of work, you look at how dog shit he was in the month of October. He's turned things around. And I buried this guy so many times. So I got to give him props, man. Like, he's been exceptional. I mentioned his numbers in the next gen games, but I've been really, really impressed with the body of work. And, I said this in my article yesterday. I wish we could bottle up Mitch Marner, what he's doing right now, and then pour it out in game 7 of the Stanley Cup playoffs of the first round. Because we're getting to that point. It's been a struggle for this guy in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but he's bound to push through eventually, right? You look at some of the greats in years past, like Stamkos and Ovechkin, not to compare Marner to those guys, but certainly an elite player in this league. You would think at some point in time he's going to push through in a big way in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I thought he was actually pretty decent last springtime in that series against Tampa.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's a growth thing, and you look at a lot of the teams that have taken a while to get it done into big time superstars who they don't have the spotlight on them that Mitch Marner does, but they take a few years in the playoffs to figure their stuff out. And now that Marner's getting that getting to that point where he's a premier player and he's got some time behind him and some experience. And I imagine, the first few years of playoffs in Toronto was kind of like, holy fuck, like I really hope and
Yeah.
I really gotta try. And you're squeezing. And now I bet you a lot of confidence has flowed into him and he can be kind of like, fuck this, I'm going to take over this series now. And he's got the jam to do that because of experience. And I think guys have had that pattern in the league before. And I like how you can be critical of this team, but hey, when credit's due, you're giving it. And if they come off the break and they're shitting the bed and they're dropping a bunch of games, you'll be the first one to call them out as saying, hey, this isn't good enough. And rightfully so, because if we're going to give these guys, a high end marking on what they are and what kind of team they are and what they're capable of this year, then you can't be spinning your wheels and dropping crazy games and going on these big losing streaks and stuff. And there's no reason this team should. So, credit where credit is due. And also, you got to hold them to a high standard if you're calling them a really good team this year.